Okay, it is 11 o'clock. This webinar is being recorded, and we're just going to give folks a few moments to join us here as we just opened the room. All right, it seems like the number has stopped. All right, so I'm going to get started with an introduction and just kind of go over some ground rules, and then we'll turn the presentation over to Andrea. So hello and thank you for joining the first annual New Jersey Youth Transitions Conference. My name is April DePietro. I'm the Community Resource Director at the Camden County Care Management Organization. I will be your host for today's session with NJWINS, Work Incentives Network Support. We have Andrea here with us. In this format, all participants are muted by default. If you would like to communicate with myself or the panelists, please use the Q&A feature located at the bottom of your screen. Questions will be answered at the conclusion of this presentation. A recording of these presentations will be made available within the next few days on our website, which is www.njyouthtransition.life. This session is also being closed captioned. In order to activate the closed captioning features, please click on the live transcript button on the bottom of your screen window and click show subtitles. If you need technology support at any point during the conference, you can access our live tech support Zoom room sponsored by Richard West at ATAC. The Zoom room link is available on our website. Please be patient as there may be many people seeking help at the same time. If you are having technology difficulties now, please check your sound and try signing out and signing back into the session before visiting the tech support Zoom room. Oftentimes, this may fix the issue. Please note we have a hard stop 5 minutes before the top of the next hour. We do this in order to have time to plan for the next webinar. I will hand the presentation over to Andrea with NJWINS. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction, April. My name is Andrea Jiminez, and I'm from NJWINS, which is the New Jersey Work Incentives Network Support. Here's my brief contact information should you need to reach me after this PowerPoint presentation or any point in the future. You have my email available. I also provided our website address. So if you wanted to get some more information in regards to NJWINS, feel free to check out our website, www.njwins.org. So our program, NJWINS, is funded by the Social Security Administration to provide work incentive planning and assistance, also known as WIPA, to recipients of SSI, which is the Supplemental Security Income Benefit, and or Social Security Disability Insurance.
I'm sorry,
SSI.
1 second. Your screen
Yes.
isn't shared with the rest of the group.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah.
No problems, only solutions.
Yeah, 1 second.
There we go.
Okay.
All is well. Thank you. We can see it. It looks great. Appreciate
All right,
it.
perfect. Thank you so much. Forgot that little slight sharing of the screen. So as I mentioned, our program is funded by the Social Security Administration, and we provide work incentive planning assistance for individuals that are receiving either SSI or SSDI. Individuals that are seeking to go to work, or maybe they had a change in their employment status, maybe they had an increase in their hourly pay rate, or maybe they increased the amount of hours that they are working, and they want to get some information on how their benefits check can be possibly affected. They can reach out to us and we can provide that information to them. One thing that we do not help with is any appeal decisions. So if somebody applied for benefits and they were denied, that's one thing that we don't assist with, but we could provide resources on who to contact for that. If an individual has questions about how much they can earn before they lose cash benefits, we could assist with that. Also, information about their medical coverage. So what will happen to their Medicare or Medicaid if they start working. Also, what would happen if their benefits check becomes suspended and they want to know how to get their benefits check back. We also could provide information on what happens if the individual's employment stops, and let them know, how to get the benefits back, and then what happens if they were to decrease their hours. That's what I wanted to say. Also, security benefits and earning calculations are subject to individual circumstances. The most important thing to take away from today's PowerPoint presentation is if you have an individual that is receiving either SSI and or SSDI, it is very important that if they do start working, that they report their wages to the Social Security Administration. If the individual maybe has a change in their income, it's important that that change is also reported to the Social Security Administration. Also, any life events, if the individual ends up moving out, ends up getting married, those are all things that need to be reported to Social Security because they could potentially affect the amount that the individual receives, especially if an individual is receiving SSI. So a few ways to report wages. You can go and visit your local office. Once they reopen, I believe they're still closed due to the pandemic. The other option would be to send copies of your pay stubs, certified mail. And then you just want to go ahead and create a cover letter indicating who you are and what it is that you're reporting. If you're an SSI recipient, there's an app that you can download and you can go ahead and report your wages utilizing the app. Also on the ssa.gov website, there's an online feature. Once your employer has been recorded with the Social Security Administration, you can then go ahead and report your wages online as well for SSI and SSDI. And that's a fairly new feature that's now available. So today I'll be discussing two types of benefits. One is the Social Security, the Supplemental Security Income, SSI. The other is the Social Security Disability Insurance. And under the SSDI falls the Dac Benefit, a disabled adult child. And I'll review that one briefly as well. With SSI, it is a needs-based benefit. So any income that you have coming in will determine the amount that you're eligible to receive. When an individual applies for SSI and they're eligible, they will automatically be eligible for Medicaid as well. When an individual applies for SSDI, it is based upon their work history. So whatever they pay into the FICA tax will determine their premium that they receive per month, their benefit amount. With the SSDI, after 2 years of being on the disability rolls, you'll be eligible for Medicare coverage. If you're a parent and you have a child that is disabled, they can be eligible to receive off of your record. And that is called a Dac benefit, a disabled adult child benefit. The parent has to be either disabled, retired, or deceased for the dependent to receive this benefit. Be prepared. So if you are ready to be employed or considering employment, you should meet with a benefits specialist or reach out to a Social Security representative. It is extremely important. This will alleviate any overpayment issues. It's very important that, like I said previously, if you are beginning to work or you're considering employment, feel free to reach out to us. If you go to the Ticket to Work website, you can actually get connected with us through there. There's a screening process. They will then send a referral out to our agency, and then we will contact you and begin benefits counseling. So with the Supplemental Security Income, as I mentioned, it is needs-based. There are some work incentives that are under the SSI benefit that allow an individual to work and still remain eligible for a certain amount of their SSI check. This work incentive is called Law Provision 1619A. So this allows someone to go to work and based upon their amount of wages, will allow them to remain eligible for a portion of their cash check. This is done through an income test formula. So basically it's a little less than half of your wages from employment will be deducted from your SSI check. We try to encourage individuals that are receiving SSI not to think of this deduction as a negative impact, because financially the individual that's receiving SSI and that's working is actually making more money in a month as opposed to solely receiving their SSI check. Law Provision 1619B allows a Medicaid recipient to still remain eligible for their Medicaid if their SSI check stops due to their wages from employment. So it allows them to still remain eligible for Medicaid, which is very important because a lot of times an individual doesn't want to give up their SSI check in fear that Medicaid will be terminated, which is not the case. Some SSI work incentives that are available. One is the student earned income exclusion. This one is great for anyone that's under the age of 22 who is not head of household, not married, and if they're regularly attending school and working, Social Security, the SSI, will exclude up to $1,930 of their earned income or up to $7,770 annually. And then they can still earn their wages from employment and potentially not even affect their SSI as long as they stay below these numbers. So this is a great work incentive if you have a child or you know someone who maybe is beginning to work and they're regularly going to school, they can still remain eligible for their SSI check without having an impact on it, up to these amounts. The next work incentive that's available is called the impairment related work expense. This is a great work incentive if anyone has any out-of-pocket medications or devices that they may pay for that they need in order to work. So it has to relate directly to the individual's disability and their need to work. Social Security will take the amount of this expense and apply it into the income test formula. So basically, it would put back up to 50% of that expense into the SSI check. It's not considered a reimbursement. They just apply it into the income test formula to reduce the individual's countable income. This can apply for any medications. If the individual is paying a monthly copay for services, maybe they see a social worker therapist, a psychiatrist, and they have a copay for those services, they can go ahead and submit those receipts along with the pay stubs to the Social Security Administration. And when they calculate the individual's adjusted SSI, they would apply this impairment related work expense into that income test formula. If an individual is blind, there is something called blind work expenses. And for this one, the individual will actually get dollar for dollar back. So this is applied into the income test formula as well. And this can include service animals. This can include the care for the service animal, food for the service animal. And it can also include meals consumed on the individual's lunch break. So with the blind work expenses, it has a little bit more things that will apply as an expense as compared to the impairment related work expense. If an individual is planning to save with the SSI benefit, there's something called a Plan for Achieving Self-Support, also known as PASS. So with SSI, there is a resource limit. So if for an individual, it's $2,000. So if the individual has more than $2,000 sitting in a bank account, that could jeopardize their SSI check and their Medicaid. So what Social Security put in place if an individual wanted to save for a big ticket item is something known as PASS, a Plan for Achieving Self-Support. It's a way for the individual to save for an attainable work goal. So if the individual maybe wants to start their own business, maybe they want to do continuing education courses, they can go ahead and save for that without it affecting their SSI. The Plan for Achieving Self-Support, it's basically a business application that you'll be submitting to the Social Security Administration. It's a Social Security cadre. They would review your plan and determine whether they'll approve it. And then from there, you can go ahead and work on your work goal. With the Social Security disability insurance, it has its own set of rules for the work incentives. So if an individual is receiving Social Security disability insurance, the first work incentive that's available to them is something called the trial work period. This is a period of 9 months that Social Security is allowing the individual to make an unlimited amount of wages and still remain eligible for their disability check. They allow 9 trial work period months within a 60-month rolling window. If an individual's earnings exceed $940, that's just letting Social Security know that they're completing one of these 9 trial work period months. Once an individual completes all 9 trial work period months, Then they start to measure the individual's wages against something called a substantial gainful activity limit. For 2021, that amount is $1,310 that the individual can earn up to and still remain eligible for their disability check. If an individual is blind, that SGA increases to $2,190 for 2021. After an individual completes the trial work period, they enter the next work incentive, which is called the extended period of eligibility. And this is for 36 consecutive months. At this point is when the Social Security Administration begins to measure the individual's wages against that substantial gainful activity limit. It also allows for something called a grace period to be applied. So if the individual starts to earn over SGA, Social Security will allow a 3-month grace period before they suspend the individual's benefits check. If the individual gets their benefits check suspended during the extended period of eligibility and their employment stops or reduces below SGA, their wages reduced below SGA, they can then notify the Social Security Administration, and during this extended period of eligibility, they can have their benefits check reinstated. So this is a great work incentive. If an individual may be receiving SSDI, plans on starting employment, they may fear that they're going to terminate their benefits check right away, which is not the case. There are these great work incentives in place that allow them to either test their ability to work or be employed and suspend their benefits check and then have the option to get it reinstated if needed. An individual will be able to retain their Medicare coverage up to 93 months after the trial work period has been completed. Again, when an individual has been on the disability rolls for 2 years, they're eligible for their Medicare coverage, and I'll explain that shortly. The expedited reinstatement, also known as EXR, may be requested up to 60 months after the EPE or the loss of the check. So this is an additional work incentive that's available. So if the individual maybe exceeded the 36 months and they needed their benefits check back, they could apply for what's called an expedited reinstatement. So Social Security will issue 6 provisional checks, and while they determine that the individual is still considered disabled, the disability has to be the same condition that was applied for, or that was applied when they previously were eligible for SSDI. If it's a new condition, then they would have to do a whole new application. But if it's still the disability that they had previously, then they would be able to apply this expedited reinstatement. So this is a great resource as well. With the SSDI, there are some work incentives similar to the SSI benefit. They're just applied differently. So with SSDI, there is the impairment-related work expense. Again, it's an out-of-pocket expense that you may have that relates directly to your disability and your need to work. With SSDI, they actually take the full value of that impairment-related work expense and they deduct it from your gross wages. So if an individual maybe earned over SGA at some point and they have an impairment-related work expense of $400, they would hopefully deduct that $400 from their countable wages to bring them below the SGA. So that's the goal of the impairment-related work expense and how it's applied with SSDI. Another work incentive that's available is something called a subsidy or special condition. So these are any goods or services paid for by someone other than the beneficiary. So if an individual is maybe receiving services through an employment network, or maybe they went to DVRS and they're getting some job coaching services, that's considered a subsidy or special condition. So that can be applied. It's called a job coaching subsidy. They will take the amount of hours that the individual works with that job coach, times it by their hourly pay rate, and then that could be subtracted from the individual's countable wages. If maybe there is a device that's being used for communication and maybe DVR has paid for that, they could possibly have that applied as a subsidy or special condition as well. And again, Social Security will make the final decision on these work incentives, especially when they're being submitted with the pay stubs. Additional resources that I provided today One is the New Jersey Workability. This is a great program. It is a Medicaid program. It's available for individuals who are disabled and maybe have a higher income or higher resource limit than the low income Medicaid. So if you know somebody maybe that is not getting SSI and Medicaid and they're in need of Medicaid and they're working, this is a great resource. So New Jersey Workability, I provided the link here. You can go ahead and jot it down. It's a great resource. They actually have their application now online, so it makes it a lot easier as well. If you know somebody receiving Medicare, they can apply for this New Jersey Workability as well. In doing so, they would then have their Medicare premiums picked up because this Medicaid program would be their secondary insurance. So they would pick up those Medicare premiums. So this is a great way for the individual to save. The Medicare Part B premium alone, I believe it increased to $148.50, and that's per month. So if there's this alternative New Jersey Workability Medicaid that's available, they'll act as secondary insurance, and it'll also pick up those premium costs for that individual. Another resource that's available is called the Ticket to Work. This is actually how we get our referrals now. So the Ticket to Work program is a program that's available to SSI and SSDI recipients, and it gives them access to employment networks. So if you receive services from DVRS, DVRS is a Ticket to Work provider. You can also go to the choosework.ssa.gov website, and you can get a list of employment networks, and you can receive services remotely. You can see if there's a local office that provides employment network services near you. Basically, activating your ticket will allow the Social Security Administration to withhold doing the medical review as long as your ticket is active and in use. Also, if you contact the Ticket to Work helpline, it can get you connected to our program. If you just tell them that you want to get connected to your local work incentive planning assistance, WIPA, they will then connect you to our agency, and then we will follow up with you and get some verification of benefits and go into providing services. Achieving a Better Life Experience, also known as ABLE, is a great way for individuals who maybe have resources that exceed that $2,000 limit to put them in those additional resources into an ABLE account. This is a great alternative for individuals who maybe want to have a higher resource limit and not affect their SSI or their Medicaid. And then they could pay for living expenses. So you could pay for rent, you could pay for burial, you could pay for job services, things like that. It's a great alternative, great account. I provided a link for that as well. And then the Protection and Advocacy for Beneficiaries of Social Security, also known as PABS, assists SSI and SSDI beneficiaries with ticket assignment issues, work-related overpayment issues. If they have issues with an employment network or WIPA, they can contact PABS as well. And this is run by the Disability Rights of New Jersey, and I provided their information as well. To learn more about our program, feel free to visit our website, njwins.org. If you go to the contact page, you can just complete a information and request form, put in the comment section what it is that you need assistance with, and then whoever is in the county that you're living in, they will reach out to you. The CWIC that's available, which is the Certified Work Incentives Coordinator, excuse me. They will reach out to you, and then they will provide some information if needed. If you need immediate service, if you will, excuse me, oh my gosh, I'm getting so tongue-tied. It's a Saturday, you can really tell. To be immediately screened for NJWINS services, you can contact the Ticket to Work helpline at 1-866-968-7842. You can let them know that you're interested in getting WIPA services, which is the Work Incentive Planning Assistance. And again, they can connect you to our agency. And that concludes the PowerPoint presentation. Does anyone have any questions or concerns?
Oh no.
Hello?
Oh no, I froze.
Oh no,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Oh my God, okay, my computer froze. and I can't access anything. I know that there was a question in the Q&A. I am so glad you can hear me. I was like, I have no idea how to get in touch with the presenter.
So
all right.
I can read the question. I have it here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the question is there a limit on the salary to get the SSI benefits? Is there a limit on the salary to get the SSI benefits? So the SSI it's a needs-based benefit. So any income that you have coming in will determine the amount of SSI that you receive. So if you're receiving unearned income and earned income, that's going to determine the amount that you get. Social Security, depending on if you're just receiving benefits, if you're just receiving wages from employment, will not count the first $85 that you earn. And then after that, it's a 2-for-1. So for every $2, they'll deduct $1 from the SSI check. If you are receiving unearned income and earned income, they'll deduct the first $65, and then they'll do the 2-for-1. It's an income test formula. If you know somebody that's receiving SSI and they are considering employment, by all means, have them reach out to us. We will get verification of benefits from the Social Security Administration to verify that the individual is receiving SSI or SSDI. And then we develop what's called a benefits summary and analysis. So it's a detailed report that the individual can use as a resource tool. So they can see if they were to earn this amount, how much their SSI check will be reduced by. If they are receiving Social Security disability insurance and they have the trial work period months available, we will provide basically like a calendar that would show when they would be completing that 9 trial work period month and entering the next work incentive. So it's a great tool that the individual can use to follow along in their process. And then as time goes on, our cases don't close. We keep them open. So we have people that come back from maybe a year or 2 and say, oh, I'm starting to work again. Can you tell me where I left off with my trial work period month? We would go ahead and request an updated benefits plan inquiry from the Social Security Administration, and then we would provide that information to the individual. So unfortunately, there is no really set amount that I can tell you about the SSI benefits, but it is anything after $85. It's a 2-for-1 deduction. There's a lot of info. Can you share the PowerPoint? So yes, I believe the PowerPoint is going to be available after today. They're going to have it, I believe, archived is what April had told me earlier.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So yes, all of the webinars have been recorded. I'm hoping that even though my screen is frozen on my end, that the recording is still in progress. So the recordings will be uploaded after the conference on the New Jersey Transition website. And I will say that website slowly, so those of you who are interested can write it down. It is www.njyouth.transition.life. So if you write that website down, go to the website in a week or so, all of the webinars that we've hosted yesterday and today, if the presenter provided us with a PowerPoint, it will be uploaded. If they gave any handouts that are beneficial, that will be uploaded as well. And then I also believe all of the presenters, along with several resources from the community, can be located in the vendor village, which is a tab on the website. So again, we're just trying to make sure that everybody that participates in this first annual New Jersey Youth Transitions Conference not only gets the valuable information from attending the webinars, but also has resources at their fingertips, all housed on the New Jersey website, which is www.njyouth.transition.life.
Okay, we have 2 more questions that came in. I'll just briefly go over those as well. Who do you reach out to for help with SSI reduction of benefits? They seem to overestimate and reduce benefits beyond earnings. So if an estimate is being applied and it's higher than what is actually being recorded, that's actually beneficial to you because you could actually avoid an overpayment that way. If you're not aware, you do have to report wages. So if an SSI recipient is working, you want to make sure that by the end of the month that you're reporting those wages to the Social Security Administration. You actually want to verify that they're getting the pay stub. So they're applying these estimates. It could be as a placeholder, but you do want to actually provide the pay stubs to your local Social Security Administration office. So that way they could record the gross amount of wages and then determine the appropriate amount of SSI that should be sent out. If you have any questions regarding the SSI reduction, feel free to reach out to me. I could go back to the screen with my contact information because we do have some time, and you can jot down my email. Also, you could reach out to the Ticket to Work helpline and they'll direct you to us as well. The next question that came in, these programs are wonderful, but mean nothing to us parents if the staff at the SSA office aren't aware of them. It took us a year until someone finally listened and reinstated his SSI, which they weren't supposed to take away. He was eligible for the student earned income credit, but they kept counting his income anyway. Hold on, excuse me, I gotta scroll down. There needs to be appropriate training for SSA staff. Oh, I'm sorry, there was a list of questions. Okay, so unfortunately, when you go to the SSA office, you're going to have somebody that's more experienced in retirement. You're going to have somebody that's more experienced in survivor's benefits. There's a large category of benefits that are available under the SSA administration, or excuse me, yeah, Social Security Administration. Listen, I'm not defending them. I don't, it is what it is, but unfortunately, that's the case. If you have any issues, by all means, feel free to reach out to us. We can provide you with what it is that you need to report to the Social Security Administration and help you in any way possible. So if maybe a student earned income credit was not being applied, we will let you know how to go ahead and do that. And then if it allows, it can actually be retroactively applied. So feel free to reach out to us. We can help you out. But unfortunately, like I said, it's the same thing with the Medicaid office. If anybody's dealt with Medicaid, they don't know about certain Medicaid benefits. Same thing with SSA. Sometimes you just have somebody that has a strength in one benefit than the other, which unfortunately is unfortunate for families. My son just turned 18 and is living at home with me. He has private insurance through my employer. Can I apply for SSDI? It's very confusing. Okay, so your son just turned 18. Are you looking to apply for SSI, which is the Supplemental Security Income, or are you looking to apply for SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance? Again, Social Security Disability Insurance will be based upon a work activity, a work history. So did your son maybe have some employment during his teens? If so, he may qualify for SSDI off of his own record. If he doesn't have enough work credits established, then he would apply for SSI, which is the Supplemental Security Income. And yes, he can apply for that. Your employer insurance will be the primary, the Medicaid will be secondary insurance. And again, if you guys have any additional questions, by all means, you can reach out to me. I will be available. Okay, they reduced the monthly earnings. That's the next question. I'm entering through app. Okay, so again, entering through the app, you just need to make sure that you're uploading the pay stubs. If they're reducing the monthly earnings, this is going back to the previous question. Let me just say, who do you reach out to? Yeah, so if if they're reducing the monthly earnings, the SSI, then that should be happening because again, it's based upon the individual's income that they have coming in will determine the amount of SSI that they receive. If I'm unclear in your question, by all means, I'll go back to my email. You can email me and then I could get some verification of benefits and it'll be easier to help you out with your case. Okay, great question. How can someone get dual insurance, Medicaid and Medicare? Thanks. So someone could get Medicare and Medicaid by being an SSDI recipient, and maybe they apply for that New Jersey Workability if they're getting Medicare. If an individual is an SSI recipient and they have Medicaid, and then they become eligible for Social Security Disability Insurance, either off of their own record or as a DAC beneficiary, a disabled adult child, they will then get Medicare through that way. So they will be eligible for their Medicare and then Medicaid as well. So there's a ton of scenarios on how that can happen. Thanks, Andrea. I'm not confused anymore. Oh, fantastic news. So happy to hear. Again, if there's anything I was unclear about, anything I went over quickly, we do have some time, so I'd love to answer any more questions. And then again, I'm going to just pull up my screen here, and I'm going to just go back to my contact information so you guys have it.
Excellent. You've done a fantastic job. Hopefully you can still hear me. Yes?
Yes.
Okay,
Whenever-
perfect. I apologize. I've been unable to assist with the Q&A, but
That's
thankfully
okay.
you can hear me. This has been fantastic. We do still have time. So if there are more questions, unfortunately, I can't see them, but thankfully Andrea can. Yeah.
Okay, so more just came in.
Okay, cool.
How do we notify SSA of a full-time student status? Great question. So you would bring the schedule that your child has if they are attending college or university, even if they're attending vocational school. You would just submit that schedule to the Social Security Administration and have them apply the student earned income exclusion. And again, that only applies up until the age of 22. Once the dependent turns 22, this no longer applies. So that's how you determine or provide that information to the Social Security Administration. Thank you for explaining how to get the dual insurance. Oh, you're very welcome. How does the student earned income exclusion get applied? Okay, so it would get applied if the individual is receiving SSI and if the individual is attending school. So there's actually a link on the ssa.gov website that gives you the criteria of what is attending school full-time, and that can be provided. If the individual has a medical condition and that stops them from going full-time, I believe that's also applied in there as well. But don't quote me on it. I would have to go back to the website, but I believe I did see that in there. You would just, again, take these individuals' school schedule, submit it to the Social Security Administration, create a cover letter, provide your dependent's name, Social Security number, date of birth, and say, my child is a student. I've attached the schedule stating that they are enrolled full-time. They are working, and then provide their hourly pay rate, how many hours they're working, and then submit those pay stubs along with that and state that the student earned income exclusion should be applied. And then if you need verification, if it's being applied, you can reach out to us and we could obtain the verification of benefits, that benefits plan inquiry, and that will indicate what work incentives are being applied and when they were applied. So if you think that your child should have had the student earned income applied, let's say a year, 2 years ago, feel free to reach out to me. I actually had a case where it was not being applied and the family is now having that discussion with Social Security to see if how far they would go back to apply the retro payments. So that's something that can be done. High school students with no formal schedule. You could just, state that they're in high school, what school they're enrolled in, and that should be enough evidence for the Social Security Administration. Thank you, very helpful. You're very welcome. Next question is, with SSI and the child is living with parents, the parents has to submit their income to SSA. Great question. So with SSI, there's a couple of things you need to know. If your child was receiving SSI and they were a minor, when the child turns 18, they have to actually get redetermined for SSI as an adult. So this is very important. If they are then eligible for SSI and as an adult, the next question is, does the child live with a parent? If the child lives with a parent, Social Security will reduce the SSI that the child receives by 1/3. That is because they're financially getting assistance with food, clothing, shelter from that parent. If your child is paying his fair share of rent or her fair share of rent, you would report that to the Social Security Administration, and then the individual will become eligible for the fullest amount available in SSI that they can receive. If the dependent ends up moving out, then again, they would get the full benefit amount because they're living independently at that point. But yes, also, if you are a representative payee, Social Security will have you provide a list of how the money that's being issued out is spent throughout the year. So that's something as well. And a representative payee is someone who oversees how the benefits check is being spent. It can be a family member, it can be an agency. If you feel that your dependent will not be able to financially oversee their money, you can have a discussion with the Social Security Administration, and then you would get a letter from the doctor stating that they cannot financially oversee their finances, and then you could be counted as the representative payee. So there's some more information I just threw in there, so I do apologize if I threw any curveballs. My disabled adult goes to specialized hospital for treatment, and the hospital is not covered by Medicaid. That is the best hospital for my son's condition. Is it possible to get reimbursed for the copays through SSI? Unfortunately, I don't believe so. If it was that they were working and maybe they had a copay for maybe some specific service, like I said, maybe if they had a copay or if they're paying for medications, but are they living in the hospital like 24/7 care, or is it that they just go there for treatments? I just want to verify that. If it's treatments, then they may be able to provide those copays, but the dependent has to be working, and that would be applied as an impairment related work expense. Next question. Does working trigger individuals with the retirement disability coverage to pay for Medicare Part A and B? Does working trigger individuals with retirement and disability coverage? I'm not clear on that question. Does working trigger individuals with retirement and disability coverage to pay? So if somebody's receiving retirement benefits, then they would have to pay for their Part B coverage. Part A comes free with the Social Security disability insurance. There's no premium for that. Part B, there's the premium of $148.50, I believe. But that would be deducted from the disability check. Also, when we reach retirement, I believe it's also automatically deducted as well. We don't do retirement benefits. We're strictly SSDI and SSI. So hopefully I answered that question for you. The next question, they go there for treatments. All right, perfect. So this relates back to the question of the specialized hospital. If the individual's working, then yes, you could go ahead and apply those copays along with the pay stubs. If they're not working, then Social Security most likely won't reimburse for those copays at all. And again, it's not a reimbursement, it's a deduction in their countable wages. So excuse me on that. Next question is, how can the one on SSI earn money online? She listed some companies successfully without issues. Okay, so if you have a business, let's say on like Etsy, you're actually considered self-employed. So anything, I believe it's like anything over $600, you actually have to file taxes. So I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but, and I could be wrong, but definitely double check. Self-employment affects the SSI and SSDI as well. So it's considered earned income. They would look at your net income at that point. If you're self-employed, there's a net earnings from self-employment that's applied. It's a specific calculation that Social Security uses. So we would actually refer you to the Social Security Administration. Keep track of your expenses from the self-employment. Any business deductions that you would apply once you do your taxes, they will then look at that and then compare with what it is that you have reported monthly. Especially if you're an SSI recipient, definitely, try to figure out what your monthly income is from those wages. And that way they can have that applied to the SSI calculation. And then at the end of the year, when you do your 1099, they would then compare what it is that you reported to when you did your taxes based upon what you reported monthly for SSI. Same thing goes for Social Security disability insurance. They look at the net earnings from self-employment. I've read that next question, sorry. I've read that you have to submit tons of documentations to SSA for eligibility. My son has autism. Does having that condition automatically make you eligible for SSA? So you would do the application for the Social Security disability insurance. I believe that's the one you're looking to apply for. So SSA is the Social Security Administration. They oversee the whole benefits programs that are available. So it's retirement, survivor's benefits, Social Security disability insurance, Dac benefits, SSI. So they oversee everything. So you would just have to provide Medicaid information on the individual's medical disability. So if your child has IEPs dating back to elementary school, you're going to want to provide those. If you're denied benefits, don't think it's the end all be all, because it's not the case. Majority of the time when somebody's applying for SSI or SSDI, the Social Security Administration is going to deny them the first round. The second round, you can then appear in front of the judge and then provide your information. You could get additional information from your medical doctors for your case. You can also seek legal services. If you have low income, low resources, you can reach out to Legal Services of New Jersey. I believe they help SSI individuals. You can also reach out to your own attorney if need be. Again, that's a cost, but if you end up getting a lump payment, they will take their cut from that, but at least you'll be awarded Social Security benefits. So there is a list, but again, it's a way for them to prevent fraud. Unfortunately, you got some people that may take advantage of the system, whatever it be. So they do have a lot of documentation that needs to be put in place. So the next question is retirement and disability through a parent and still a student. So that is considered Dac benefits. So if the individual is over the age of 18 and their disability occurred before the age of 22, the child can collect what's called a Dac benefit, a disabled adult child. This would come off of the parent's record. If the parent is retired, disabled, or deceased, the child would receive up to 50% of that benefit amount. And this is federal tax money. This won't affect the amount that the parent receives. So they would receive up to half of that. If the parent is deceased, then it bumps up to, I believe, 75% that the dependent will receive at that point. Next question is self-employed full-time high school student. So again, if you're self-employed, they're going to look at the net earnings from self-employment. They would still apply that student earned income exclusion. So for SSI purposes, if the individual is somehow receiving Social Security disability insurance, which if they're a high school student, I made a mistake. They shouldn't. It would most likely be SSI. Now, if the parent is receiving benefits because they have a minor, then that's the different case here. Because Social Security, let me just recap here. If you are receiving Social Security disability insurance and you have a minor that does not have a disability, that would eventually stop when the individual turns 16 or 18, depending on if they're continuing education. But if they are in high school, it would most likely be that they're receiving SSI. And if they're self-employed, then it would be that student earned income exclusion. They would still look at the net earnings from self-employment. Sorry if I threw you guys off there on that one. That's awful. Why do they deny first? It is awful, especially if you're somebody that has a condition from birth and you be denied Social Security benefits or SSI. It is very awful. But I don't really have much to say about that. I mean, it's just unfortunate. It really is. Next question. When you're denied the first time, you have to submit the same documentation over again. Yes, submit the same documentation over again and any additional evidence that you have for the individual's disability. Like I said, you could also reach out to legal services if you need somebody to represent you. But typically, like I said, the first round, we do hear that the individual was typically denied the first round. All right, thank you so much. Is there any additional questions? Again, I know I sped through those questions. If something was unclear, I'm going to, can you guys all see my screen, I hope?
Yes,
yes. Oh, perfect. So if you guys have any additional questions, if I know I blew through those Q&A things real quick, feel free to email me. I provided my email here. So I cover, my county coverage just changed. So let me get that for you so you guys all are aware of what it is that I cover. I cover Ocean, Camden, Gloucester. Let's see, hold on. Oh, I just went blank on what it is that I cover. Here, let's go back. Well, anyway, if you go to the NJWINS.org website, you can see the list of counties I cover. I cover 5 of them, and off the top of my head, I can't remember. Atlantic County is one of them. If you reside outside of Atlantic County, feel free to go to the NJWINS.org website, and you can see who covers the county that you reside in. We are all very experienced. If there's something that we cannot answer, we do have a contact at the Social Security Administration that we work with, and we will be able to get additional help from that individual if needed. And like I said, anybody that is looking to go to work or return to work, feel free to have them reach out to us, because we really want to avoid any overpayment issues that can possibly occur. Also, we want to make sure that those additional work incentives are being applied correctly and that you're taking advantage of them. So if you have an impairment related work expense, we want to make sure that that's being applied. If you have a student that's working, we want to make sure that student earned income exclusion is being applied as well. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Let me see. I think another question just popped up.
Like I said, I don't have the capability to end the session. So at 11:55, I believe since you are a co-host, you should be able to hit end session for all. It will force quit everyone out so we can prep for the next presentation.
So it's 11:50. So we have 5 more minutes. 2 more questions just came in. I'll just go over them. The individual said, no, every time I attend seminars, the good ones never cover Essex County. So unfortunately, we did cover Essex County up until July 1st. But the agency that does cover is out of Goodwill Industries. If you go to the Ticket to Work helpline or Ticket to Work page, choosework.org, you can go on there and contact the Ticket to Work helpline. They can connect you with Goodwill Industries, and then they can provide you with the information as well. Again, they get verification of benefits and then provide the best information to you in your case. Next question is, can or would SSI pay for Class M vehicle? I'm not really sure what a Class M vehicle is. I'm sorry, I do apologize, but if you need vehicle modifications, yes, that can be done through SSI. They won't pay for it, but it could be done through either PASS. So if the individual has an attainable work goal, they can incorporate, actually, funny enough, they can incorporate a vehicle into that plan. It's up to, I believe, a certain amount that Social Security will allow the individual to allocate towards that expense. But that can include the expense of the vehicle and insurance up to, a year or so, whatever it be, that the individual could save up for. If a vehicle modification needs to be done, I would have to find out for you if that could be applied as maybe an impairment related work expense. But if you do need vehicle modifications done, you should reach out to some agencies, because I believe they can help with that as well. But I would have to look into that in more detail. But feel free to email me, and we could definitely provide that resource if needed. All right, we are at 11:53. I'm guessing if no other questions come up, I will go ahead and end.
Yes,
or should I
ma'am.
wait? Okay, perfect.
Nope,
April, thank
fine.
you so much for the intro.
Thank
you so
you.
much for helping me with this. Again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Have a blessed
Have a
day.
great rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.